Hey, friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started.
Welcome to the Matrimonial Merger podcast. Jesse and Ambry here, and today we're going to be talking about how so many people operate in fear, and what would that be like for you if we could flip that and start operating in faith and in a idea that this will actually happen for you and hope. So we're going to talk about that today, along with some amazing stories and some amazing insights that we've personally been through. But before we get started, hello, beautiful.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you doing today?
I am exhausted. I'm ready to just fall asleep. But this podcast is...
This gives us life.
This gives us life.
It's our weekly extra bonus date night.
Yes. In fact, I'm going to look over at this salt lamp here and just lick it because I need that extra, whoo, you know?
Is that salt going to do that for you?
It might. Anything right now.
Oh, man.
It's been such an interesting day, and the feedback from the kids has been crazy. So just, oh, wow. The microphone agrees with me.
There you go.
Some
days are extra exciting.
Yeah. And so now it's been good. Plus, I'm trying to get 15,000 steps in now. My coach has upped it for me, and so my feet hurt. My body's hungry.
Also, we ditched caffeine in our life.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we forgot.
So there's our accountability.
Yes, 4 days clean and sober. My name is Jesse. I'm a caffeine addict, right? Oh my goodness. Well, today I wanted to talk about this operation of fear and faith. So many people operate out of fear. Yeah. And it's so easy to tell who operates out of fear because they tell you all the things they don't want. They tell you the very thing that they're fearful of.
I feel like I can confidently say anyone that we talk to and any problem that's there, the root of it is fear of some kind.
100%. In fact, fear is the adverse to faith, right? Yeah. Just like there's the negative and positive to an atom. And that's something to consider. It's there's opposition in all things. And so fear, unfortunately, is one of those things that so many people operate out of. Yeah. And it could be fear from something that was planted in their mind by parents, maybe grandparents, maybe generations of a certain fear. And it's so sad. Yeah. Because this life is supposed to be operated by faith and abundance. And you can't feel faith and abundance when you're operating in a fearful mindset. Well,
and that's the thing that is a real bummer to me is I think that it's accepted as such a normal thing in our society. Think about most marketing is directed to tug on your fear, right? Rather than hey, what can you become? It's you need this, otherwise that. The marketing, the social media, so many things that we are surrounded by really induce fear and accept it as this is how you should live. You should be afraid. You should.
Yeah. Wild tangent here. Medical field full of fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why do you think that? In that.
Yeah. I could go on and on about that, but yeah. Anyways, we'll just stop that there. But there's a lot of fear, and it's become so accepted and normalized, and I'm here to say I don't think it has to be that way. I don't think that it should be that way. I think that, we've talked a lot before about how we were put on this earth to be creators and to create. Was this world created with fear? No. Absolutely not. Fear is something that we're here to overcome and to take control of, and like you said, to flip into faith and conviction.
Well, and we've all been there before. do I do this? Do I not do this? And you decide out of fear that you're not going to do it. Someone else does it, and that person becomes successful in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's health, wealth, or family, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I should have freaking did that.
Yeah.
But it's the fear that holds you back. And then how do you feel afterwards? Oh, I knew I should have done that.
Yeah.
But man, why was I so hesitant to do that? Oh man, I can't believe that happened. In fact, this happened to us today. Someone, like a transaction on one of our companies went south, and the very words was, I just knew something bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, like you just know something bad's going to happen? Like you're expecting it to happen in a negative? Like why not a positive?
Yeah.
It takes just as much energy to focus on positive as it does negative. But like you said,
for sure,
it's been instilled in our minds just to operate in fear.
Yeah. It's pretty sad. And I think like, on that note, it's like if you are constantly living in a state of thinking like everything's going to go wrong, well, let's say like, you brought up the example of you just don't start that new thing out of fear, right? Well, let's consider like you do start it out of fear. Like then like when fear is driving your motivation, that's not necessarily what you would want either. So example would be like, you've heard the term like commission breath, right? Like, that's kind of what it makes me think of is like, if I'm going into something because I'm like, oh, there's no money left. Like I'm afraid, like I have to do this just to make $1. Like you're going towards that venture or that, whatever that is out of fear,
right?
Instead of out of like confidence and deserving and abundance and, all the positive feelings.
Yeah. And scarcity follows that. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, scarcity is a derivative, wow, Jesse, big word, of fear. And I must be tired. But it's the truth is so scarcity funny. Derives from fear.
Sure.
Right? Like, oh, I've got to work hard. Oh man, this next dollar, I don't know if I'm going to have any more money, and I've got to work hard. I've got to get this deal. And if I don't get this deal, it's the end of the world.
What's going to happen? Like
How many people have been there? Like even with like the scarcity in the grocery store. Oh, this is such a good deal. And if I don't get this, there's never going to be another deal like this, even though it's $2 off. And and so you're buying it impulsively. And the very thing that you're trying to do is save money, but you've actually spent an extra $8 more than what you would have spent because you're trying to save too.
Yeah.
So you're making poor choices in a fear mindset there too.
Yeah. So fascinating.
Isn't it interesting?
It is very interesting. Yeah. I kind of hate it.
Yeah. No, but that's the way things are. That's just how our culture is ingrained. I mean, we watch movies, like we literally have fear movies, like scary movies to instill more fear in our life. And then we also have those scenes of like someone stumbles upon something in this movie and it's bad. And now all of a sudden they're getting chased by the bad guys and like all this fear, right? Like that's literally all we're surrounded with. And quite frankly, whether you believe in like a higher being or not, fears of the devil.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's one of the devil's biggest uses to get you to not live your highest potential.
Well, and he knows just like we do that all of these feelings and emotions are energies that are reciprocated, right? So like the energy that you are emitting is going to be reciprocated. Simple as that. Like,
right.
Hopefully you believe that to be true because that is simple. And if you can understand that, like that can be very powerful for your life. So like what energy are you emitting? Okay. There's somebody that I know of, and every single thing that comes out of their like existence on social media is negative. Everything. Constantly like complaining, frustrated, everyone hates me, all like just absolutely negative. And they're constantly wondering like, why does everyone hate me? And why this, why that? And it's like, well, maybe look inside. Like what are you doing that is attracting these emotions? Because once again, we've said this before, like what you play on the stage of your mind, what you think, what you say, it's a preview of upcoming events, right? Like upcoming attraction, whatever. So it's interesting to me. I think that like, so we'll go.
Do you find it ironic that those people are generally the ones that are the most sick all the time? They're always sick.
There's always there's some
always
kind of dis-ease in their life, whether it's health, emotional, like whatever it is. Like
we all know that person.
It's literally abundant dis-ease. Like they're very good at abundantly finding dis-ease. So what if you could abundantly find ease?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're so good at finding all the crap. Imagine if you twisted those efforts and how much gold would you find?
It's actually very impressive how good you are at always being like miserable and always finding, horrible things in your life.
I wish I could learn how to be so dedicated to one state of mind. You know what I mean? If I could be that dedicated to abundance.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Positive, energy. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So anyways, I want to bring this around to, I feel like while this is not like a religious podcast necessarily, like religion is something that's important to me. And I know that it's also something that is very, a buzz everywhere all the time, right? Like, what is your religion? What is your faith? Like, all of these things. And it's something that I think spirituality is one pillar that is extremely important in all our lives. So however you define spirituality and whatever that means for you, it's extremely important to your role on this earth and your ability to create and to, be your divine being. Mm-hmm. So I'll leave it at that. But, with that kind of preface being said, I have always been someone with a lot of faith and a lot of beliefs. And just over the last year, I have had a few instances where I was I really don't like the way I feel about this. I really like the belief that I have, but I hate the way I feel about it. So, let's just say, for me, it's very important to me, the way I dress and respecting my body. So that's something that's just important to me and that I feel, serves a purpose in my life. Well, for a long time, that was tied to a negative, fearful, emotion of guilt and shame, right? Let's say if the reason that I'm dressing a certain way is so that I'm not attracting a certain attention or so that I'm not doing this or not doing that, that's creating such a negative emotion to a belief that's actually beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's various things in my life that I started realizing this about. It's I really like what I'm doing. I like the belief, but I hate that I feel guilt. I hate that I feel shame. I hate that I feel upset or angry about this. And so, started to be curious and be okay, so is it possible then to maintain this belief, maintain this level of value that I have, that I want, and also feel confidence and conviction and certainty rather than fear and doubt and guilt.
Right.
And to me, that's been so powerful because I've talked to a lot of friends and a lot of people that, specifically with faith have kind of been almost not rejected it, but
it turns them off.
Yeah. They kind of it's almost okay, so if you're feeling guilt, fear, and doubt about something, of course you want to get rid of that out of your life. Mm-hmm. Well, what other good things are you getting rid of by just running away from that rather than changing how it's programmed in you, right? And so there are several things that I've taken a look at internally and been okay, I like this, I just don't like the way I feel. And so I'm going to reprogram that into, feeling what I would want to feel instead about this certain belief. Yeah. And it makes a huge difference to me. And all of a sudden, the actions I'm choosing and the choices I'm making and the things I'm doing have this higher purpose behind them. Mm-hmm. And instead of walking around feeling afraid or fear or guilt and shame and all these things that I think a lot of us can relate to in certain aspects of our life, I'm feeling I know why I do this and I know why I choose this. And so I think that that's extremely important because we were talking about a little while ago, what about your relationship with money? Mm. What about your relationship with your dreams and your goals and the things that you aspire to?
Even your body. your
with your
health,
body.
yeah.
Yeah. Like if all of these things could be aligned to a higher purpose and a positive emotion,
Sure.
what could that do for you?
Yeah. It reminds me of a story, a particular client that I was working with. And I made an agreement that was outside of my typical agreements because I was just trying to be nice, right? Like I was abundant, like we were doing really well financially. And I was just like, you know what? I get it. I'm going to just give, right? This is a family that I perceived maybe a family in need. And so I went against my own code.
Yeah.
And the entire transaction, I hated it. And I was not all in. And I was frustrated. But I was trying to like, you know what? I made this decision. I'm going to honor it. And then things got dicey. And things started to change, which then opened up a window of me going back and being like, you know what? It's because I was not true to myself here.
Yeah.
I've got to go back and just, bite the bullet and say, hey, this isn't working. And this money that I gave you a discount on, I'm actually using to market, right? And I'm using to pay employees. So I went back and I had this conversation and I was just told how selfish and how rude I was. And ultimately I ended up firing that client because I went against my values.
Yeah.
But what I had done in that moment is I had made a decision based out of more of a fear of maybe I won't get this deal. At the end of the day, that's what it was about. And it didn't matter about, like, it was a scarcity decision, but the feedback I had, I just wasn't happy. So kind of going along with what you said, it was like I went against my moral code and what I charge, and I devalued myself.
Yeah.
That was my first mistake. And I felt guilty.
Yeah.
And then I also started feeling scarce because, this was not working out. Clear up to the point where it's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not giving you the level of service. And once again, it goes back down to that fear of at that time, looking back, I felt maybe not fear, but I was trying to feel like I was doing a good thing for someone. And instead of just staying very straight to what I do, I tried to deviate a little bit. And it kind of reminds me of like Peter on the water, right? You're walking on the water and then all of a sudden you start to look at some of the other things that may cloud your judgment. Before you know it, you're starting to sink. And that's kind of what happened is like this, my better judgment was telling me no to this, but I still made that decision. I started looking around. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs do that sometimes, especially those in a sales role. They're like, you know what? I'm just going to help someone out. But then once again, you feel guilty.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing behind it is like, why do I feel so guilty asking for this money in some cases? Or why do I feel so terrible about servicing this client I just gave a discount to? I should give them the same level of service.
Well, and if there's that like feeling of fear or guilt or whatever it is initially, like that's a red flag in and of itself, because once again, it's reciprocated energy. So likely that client or that person on that other end, they also are putting out like scarcity, fear, like vibes, right? And so the reason that you're giving them the like discount or quote unquote, like giving them a favor or whatever is not like out of like a positive emotion.
Right.
And so that right there should indicate like how the entire process is going to be. And it's, not what you would want out of it. Right. Whereas like, I know but there have been other situations that we have helped someone and it truly was like us helping them. And we felt so good about it. It was an amazing process, great transactions and like positive all around.
We still get text messages from them about how grateful they are.
But from the get-go, like that feeling was reciprocated, right? Like that person was like in a place where they needed help and they were grateful and they were, they
didn't even ask.
They were willing to follow our process and take our advice because they saw that even though like maybe we were giving them a deal, they still like believed and saw the value. Like I guarantee had they been able to pay us 10 times the amount we even normally charge, they would.
Right.
Because they saw that value and they were grateful. So those processes, even though like across the board, maybe it was the same discount, different emotion,
Different
different
emotion.
outcome, different experience.
And that's what we're trying to get to is like so many of us are operating out of fear, that initial emotions telling us that this is a fearful or this is not something that is the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we are obligating ourselves to cooking family dinner, as simple as something like that, saying, okay, yeah, I'll cook family dinner out of guilt because you feel like you need to do that. That's the quote unquote right thing to do. That's what you were taught. Or maybe you feel guilty for wanting to wear something that is a little bit more like revealing, as far as like maybe it's tighter on your body, maybe maybe it's a little bit shorter on your legs, whatever the case, right? And like I wear my shorts a little bit higher now because I have these awesome quads. So that's kind of what I was talking about. It's like in the beginning it was like, well, do I feel guilty? But no, I feel so good. Like, and same thing about like I felt guilt taking my shirt off in public, and now I'm feeling a lot better about feeling more involved in myself, right? And just like happy with my body and the way I am, instead of doing a favor to other people and saying, oh, I'm going to keep this shirt on because I don't want other people to be bugged by how chubby or how disgusting of a person I am. Now it's like I'm embracing who I am and I love who I am more. And so it's all about the guilt that you initially feel. If you feel guilty about something, you got to challenge yourself and ask why.
Yeah. What can you learn from it? Like because those emotions come for a purpose. Like our body is designed to send us like feedback when something's good or bad. Like we know when something, challenges a belief or whatever, right? Like it's programmed to send us like a signal. And so what is that signal trying to tell you, and what can you learn from it, and how can you, in some cases, change it, right?
Right.
And, because there's a certain time and a place where fear is a good thing and it could save your life, right? Like instinct and all of that. But like in some cases, that fear that has become an instinct is actually holding us back from being our best self.
So much.
And fulfilling our highest purpose. And on that note, I think like, this is something that there's so many ways that you can truly like shift and change and remove fear from certain like programs and certain beliefs, right? You can get rid of it. You truly can. And I think that's the first thing, is you got to believe that that's possible. 100%. And then also like, from like a broad perspective, like take a step back and consider like, what is the reason for what it is that you're doing? Like, what's the purpose behind it? What's the positive feeling that comes from that choice or that action? And chunk that all the way up to like your highest purpose, your very highest feeling and purpose on this earth, and what you're doing in your life.
And you do that by asking yourself, what is the purpose of this?
Yeah.
And then you answer the question. Like an example, what's the purpose of family dinner? It's the camaraderie. It's being with family.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how does that make you feel?
Right. How does that make me feel? Well, it makes me feel amazing. So what's the purpose of feeling amazing? Right. And then you start to go up as high as you can. Go back and forth
with the two questions of like, well, what's the purpose of that? And how does that make you feel?
Right.
All the way up to whatever your highest purpose is.
Right. And you'll know it's your highest purpose because you'll just feel this huge sense of relief and gratitude. But once again, going back to family dinner, it may not make sense for you to cook. And that guilt, so you're making this food go crap. Like one of my favorite things, I remember this, when we were first dating, and I was working insane hours, and going to school full time. And I had this 1 hour window before school.
This is while we were dating.
This is while we're dating. And I remember my mom, because I lived at home, she was like, you need to cook family dinner. And I was legitimately upset. I was like, I don't even have time to breathe, or eat. And I have to sit here and make family dinner. So what did I do? I threw together this most podunk family dinner. I took out chicken patties and put some sauce on it with some cheese on top and called it chicken parmigiana. And it was hilarious. Well, guess what? Because of that negative energy and that guilt, I still did it, but I was mad. I came home frustrated that I had to do that. And that energy was felt so much, especially after when the response was, "That's it? That's what you cooked for family dinner?" And that
Give me
was
a
just
chicken
like,
nugget with some cheese melted on top.
chicken nugget with some cheese on top. But that was the thing is like,
Oh, that's so funny.
sometimes you just got to stand up for yourself and say no, and don't let the guilt overwhelm you.
Or like if it is truly something you want to do, like consider how to remove that negative emotion by, once again, like finding how it connects to your highest purpose.
Right.
Okay, so I did this with someone who's super dear to me a few weeks ago, and it was around like a decision that she's making that most people around her are making a different decision. And that kind of feels uncomfortable sometimes, right? Like when you feel like you're the odd one out, you're the, the black sheep, whatever you want to call it. Like,
because you're actually doing something for yourself.
Yeah. And, and you have a purpose, like, because a lot of the times, like those other people and the, like, that are making the choice that everyone else is making, they're just drifting, doing whatever. Like they're just
zombies.
Yeah. It's like they don't have a purpose.
Nope.
They're just doing what everyone else is doing.
Yep.
So like, oh man, I just wish I could drill this into like every teenager's mind.
Yeah.
But anyways, this person I care super deeply about, I was having this conversation, and she's kind of like, everyone else does this, I do this, and she knew that she wanted to make the decision she was making, but it sucks to feel like you're the odd one out, and that maybe you stick out like a sore thumb or whatever, especially if you're a teenager. That sucks.
Yeah.
And so like I started asking her these questions about this decision. Like, okay, so how does it make you feel? And what's the purpose of it? And when you do this, by the way, like it always needs to be a positive emotion, something towards your highest purpose. So, if you think like, well, it's so that I don't do this, or it's so that I don't attract that. Nope. Like turn that into the positive and then keep going. So
yeah, positive words only.
So,
because this is your positive, highest, and best.
Exactly. Yeah. So if there's something that comes to your mind that's like going away from or a negative, that's okay. Just flip it to the positive. What would that mean in the positive, and then move forward. So anyways, we had this conversation going through like this decision she's making, like, and she gave me a purpose, gave me a feeling, a purpose and a feeling, a purpose and a feeling, all the way up to like her highest purpose was to like become like God, to be like God, to be like Christ. Like that was so deeply like important and ingrained to her. That truly was why she's making the decision she's making. Even though like you chunk back down, it's like, this is a tiny decision that, is very like small. Like it had a huge purpose behind it, but she hadn't consciously realized that purpose.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like getting to that point and consciously realizing like the highest purpose of this small decision, what that was, like I looked at her and I was like, so now how do you feel about that? Because at first you felt like,
uneasy,
shame, or you felt like, oh, you're different, you're whatever. Like just, you feel like this uneasiness or fear or whatever that is. Now all of a sudden she's like filled with fire and conviction because she knows why she's making the decision she's making. She knows the purpose behind it.
Yep.
And then at that point, who cares what the heck everyone else is doing? Like you have a purpose. Yes. You're going towards something bigger.
Yep.
That's incredible.
I'll never forget that. Like the first time we did this exercise and I recognized what my purpose was as a human being, right? Like there was a part of me that felt fear, and then a part of me that felt like there was more out there for me, that I had more to give. And I didn't know at the time that it would evolve to what it's evolved to.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know at the time of doing this exercise, I would have 6 grown men crying in a Chipotle. I didn't know that, right? But as I started to unpack that and understand what my greatest thing was, it actually propelled me into a different, like a totally different person,
looking
totally
at things differently, like
just even in my career. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy real estate, but what I enjoy doing more is motivating people, talking on this podcast. Like, this isn't work for me. This is so much fun.
And with that, like the way that you also conduct real estate. It's
Yeah.
different. It's
Totally
it's
different.
coaching instead of,
Right.
like it is literally like it's different.
I close more business because of it.
Yeah.
And it's because I understand my highest fear, or not my fear, my highest and best like person of who I am.
Yeah.
I am literally a motivator and a coach, and I help people feel like there's hope. And so what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to help people understand what their divine role is on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that they are legitimate creators.
Yeah.
They are they come from, they're a derivative, Ambry.
You really like that word.
I like that word tonight. But they derive from a higher being that is
Yeah.
a creator, and therefore they're creators on this earth and can create.
And
it's
that creator
not,
doesn't create out of fear.
no,
Ever.
and that's the thing
You
is,
weren't created with fear.
no, you were created
You
with a divine
like
purpose.
to the core
Yes,
of who you are. You were not created with fear.
never. And so my whole goal is to help extract fear from people's lives and change that
Yeah.
into a faith-based, I can do it, and
Confidence, conviction.
not just faith in God or whoever you worship, but faith in yourself.
Yeah. Faith in your purpose, faith in your
Right.
like your business.
Right. I walked into an appointment today, and someone's like, "What do you do?" And I said, "I have a $250 million coaching company." I don't have that yet, but it's so far in my
in your
future.
reality.
It's in my reality.
Whether that
it's-
reality is now or in 5 years
Exactly.
or 2 years, it's in your reality.
It doesn't matter whether the money is in the account or not, because I know that that's what this coaching company is.
Yeah.
I just know it. And so I'm going to walk into the room. I'm going to go into seminars. And when I feel like the seminar's lacking, I'm going to ask for the microphone and I'm going to get up and speak. And I'm just going to do it because I know I have so much power behind me that it scares some people.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
Some people are like, how do you feel so certain that this is actually the way it is? And it's like, because I freaking know it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, imagine being so like
You've gotten rid of that
so
fear.
in tune and just knowing. So like money doesn't matter anymore. Like money is important, yes, but it's a vehicle.
It's an energy.
It's an energy.
It's not something we're afraid of or that's scarce or
Right.
that's, unknown.
Exactly. Are there times when it's like, oh man, the count's getting a little low? Yeah, sure. There's times, but I lose myself and I just focus on what it is my purpose is.
And we don't go make decisions based out of fear.
No, we make decisions out of, is this going to help us?
Love.
Exactly. Is this going to help us get to where we need to
Yeah.
go next?
And
it's
is it
out of love.
aligned with our highest purpose and with what we truly want?
Exactly. And that's what makes it so much fun, is eliminating the fear is as simple as just asking yourself, like, number one, what do I want to feel instead?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Going back and asking yourself that question, why do I feel this way? At what point did I decide I feel this way? What do I want instead? And what can I do to let this go?
Yeah.
And just move forward. And as you ask yourself those questions, and then ask yourself, what is my intention? There is intent behind every little thing you do. Believe it or not. We don't just do anything without intent. Yeah. There is intent. But if you don't know what that intent is, it's up to you to bring that to the awareness to the front of your mind and figure out why you're doing what you're doing. There's intent behind it. Whether it's self-sabotage or the intent is a greater good. There is intent behind every single thing you do.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll fight people to the death about that because, first thing I'll say is brushing your teeth. What's the intent, right? The intent of brushing your teeth is keeping your breath clean,
your teeth clean,
keeping your clean maintained,
yourself
right?
healthy.
Why?
Not turning people off by your crazy breath.
Okay, but even then, like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you taking care of your teeth? There's a higher purpose there, right? Oh, what purpose do your teeth serve? Do you know where your teeth actually talk to your body? Like, and there's communication and there's things that...
I didn't know you knew that.
Oh, yeah. Right? But that's the thing is there's intent behind everything you do, and it may not even be in your awareness, but there are things that you've got to get more aware of. Why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
And then as you figure that out, you start to realize, hey, well, I'm not operating in fear. I know the intent behind everything I'm doing. Right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's not justifying, like by saying, oh, I just have to do this. No, you don't. And you don't owe me an excuse. You just do it.
Yeah.
And you don't worry about what I think of you and your decision. You just do it because you know that's what you need to do.
Yep.
Buy a Porsche because I know that's what I need to do. Right? And that's what it comes down to is I know that the highest and best self of me needs excellence, and that's why I went and bought the car. Doesn't have to deal with anyone. Sure, someone says, oh, nice car, or someone goes, oh, it must be nice to have money. Don't care what they say because it doesn't matter. Because I know my highest and best purpose is served every time I jump in and out of that car, and I feel excellent because I can get out and speak excellence.
Yeah.
And that's
alignment right there.
That's alignment. And that's what we're hoping to do and help you guys with this podcast is help you become more aware and become more aligned with yourselves. Yeah. You don't owe anyone a freaking explanation.
It's true.
And a lot of times we as parents, and Ambry and I are working on this, we instill an explanation in our kids by asking them, why did you do what you did?
Yeah. Instead of asking them how does that make you feel? Mm-hmm. Or my favorite is the most traditional thing. And I'm sorry if this cuts to your core, but your kid doesn't need to be told to go tell someone sorry.
Nope.
They shouldn't be told to go tell someone sorry. That's, in my opinion, not always the right way to handle a certain situation. Should they find a purpose and a reason and a desire to want to make a situation better? Absolutely.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, going and saying sorry to someone doesn't really do anything. It's
doesn't fix it.
You teach them that one word can fix it, for one, which is not true. And also that they have to do that. And then they don't have a positive emotion tied to it. Now I'm just going on a tangent, but what if instead, someone's feelings get hurt or someone's upset and one of your children has made them feel that way? Take a step back and say, hey, why don't you take a look at them? What do you think they're feeling right now? Mm-hmm. And then allow them to discern and to take that in and realize the reality of the situation and actually understand the feeling and the, what's happening. And then, so what do you think you could do?
Yeah.
And let them figure that out. They know if they should go say sorry or if they should go give a hug or if they should write a note or whatever that is. But you're teaching them to create the solution instead of just oh, you got to go say sorry. Well, that literally means nothing. It's just it's just this cultural, socially accepted thing that we've created that really it doesn't, at the end of the day, mean something. And, there's studies, there's things to back this up and I could talk about it, but that's just a simple principle that, can align with what we're talking about here.
Are you saying that telling your kid to say sorry is a mediocre action?
Absolutely.
I agree. And
I'm 100% guilty of it. This is something that
we've been working on.
Oh my gosh. Our oldest is 5.5 and all the time Jesse and I are just I think we'll do this for the rest of our life. Right. But I wish we knew, mm-hmm. And she's the most amazing little girl ever. And there's just things that we're man, we did that to her. We programmed that already and she's 5. So now how do we reverse that program and reprogram it with something better because she deserves the best. Yeah. And,
and what's so amazing about that is when you do finally have a breakthrough and a reprogram that it is such a tender moment, to the point where your daughter or son or whoever is just looking at you saying, I feel so safe sharing my feelings with you. Yeah. Or, wow, you're acting differently and I appreciate that. They recognize the energy that you're giving as well. Because it's so easy to just say go to timeout because we're exhausted and I'm guilty of that. But once again, going to timeout, we're teaching our kids to fear timeout. We're teaching our kids to fear
sitting alone and being quiet for a minute.
We're also teaching our kids to pack in their emotions inside and not actually explain where they're coming from. Yeah. And how they're feeling and why they reacted the way they reacted.
Well, and on the flip side, of the whole sorry thing, you're teaching them that if they've been hurt or they've been wronged, someone just walking up in a simple sorry should make them feel better. And that's not right. They deserve for their feelings to be validated and to be felt, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever had someone like, oh, sorry. Like, so what? Like, okay, that means nothing.
Let me go here because my whole childhood was go say sorry. Go say sorry.
Me too.
And so when I would walk up to Ambry when we were first married and we'd have a fight and I'd be like, sorry. And I'd be like, so can we like,
move on?
Move on? I told you I'm sorry. And you would look at me and be like, are you kidding me? Like, no, I still have feelings. And I'm just like, well, I told you I'm sorry. Right. And I'll never like, that was something that was such an interesting installation that was like, well, I said, I'm sorry. So you just need to forgive me. And then I'd get frustrated because you wouldn't let it go. But it was because I was taught that when you say sorry, you just forgive. Yeah,
that's it. It's over. Well, and I think there can be apologies that are extremely heartfelt and healing. Like, so don't mistake that. But, but at the end of the day, like if we're talking about like a spousal apology, like what that person really wants is validation and love. And so like, it might be different from person to person, but like, I love you, I understand the way my actions made you feel and I can see you. I see that.
Yeah.
Can I give you a hug? Can I, let you feel my emotion and my, my understanding? Holy crap. All of a sudden, like your sorry just went from 0 to 100. Like, and anyways, man, that's quite the tangent, but
it goes back down to the fear, right?
Yeah.
That's where it all starts is
you're saying sorry out of fear that like,
your
that's
parents
just what
are
you're
going to
supposed to
spank
do,
you
or that's what's socially acceptable. Like, just don't do it.
I mean, I have one more thing I wanted to share because it really has hit me the last couple weeks. So for those that know a little bit more about me and for those that don't, my childhood was very interesting. It was, in some cases abusive, mentally, physically, luckily not sexually ever. Like that's something I never had to deal with, and my heart goes out to people that have been abused in that manner. But I would find myself every time in my early sales career, I would go and I'd present people with a proposal, and then I would touch my face. And I wasn't until recently when I started noticing and becoming more aware that the reason why I touched my face is because I was nervous. I was nervous presenting a price. I was nervous presenting something and feeling like I was going to, essentially like cheat someone, right? Because I knew I could go lower and there was that fear there, but I would touch my face. And the reason why, and I went back and unpacked it, is because I would touch my face when I was nervous because I was afraid to get smacked.
Wow.
And so like my whole life I would touch my face. And when I was nervous, or I just like kind of, brush my beard, whatever, just to protect my face from that. And that negative energy. That
emotion tied and carried through.
It tied to the other person. So when I presented the offer, slapped it on the table, and I know I could go way lower, and I touch my face.
You're afraid of the rejection, so you're like,
I'm afraid of the rejection. They sense
yourself.
that, and they're like, I don't know, I think we could probably find a better deal. And then all of a sudden, I'm slashing the price clear down to nothing,
and you're not making the money you deserve.
I'm not making the money I deserve. It's because I had a fear installation of standing up to another adult, because I was afraid to get hit.
Pretty powerful.
And so there's
a reason that you're a coach.
There's a reason.
I'm so lucky. I get this like full interview every Monday.
Yeah. But that's what it comes back down to though, is there's that unconscious, everything has an intent. So why did I touch my face? It's because I was scared out of my freaking mind that someone's going to reach over and hit me. Because
and maybe like truly you didn't think that person would hit you, but the rejection, the
disappointment,
anger, the disappointment, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like the same emotion was tied to that like response. That's so interesting.
And so I'd cover my face in a very subtle way.
It's a big deal.
Like not like out of fear, like both hands, but I'd cover my face
just kind of like
just
stroking
enough,
your beard, touching your chin, something like
putting out a negative energy because I was scared to death that I was gonna be embraced with that. And so now I'm consciously aware and I present it. Like today, someone asked me my coaching prices. I put them right down. I share my coaching prices online. I'm not afraid to like hide it or anything or try to sell people. It's like, listen, you're going to get what we get because I'm going to go all in.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not afraid and I'm not hiding anything.
It's
there.
Your value and
Exactly.
That's really cool.
But once again, everything has an intent. Everything has an intent,
And
whether
fear
you
can't
know
be
it.
the intent.
Right. You've got to go in and eliminate everything. And as you do so, you start to shine like a light on a hill in darkness.
Yeah.
It's a pretty amazing thing.
It's cool.
So, you guys,
I love it.
get rid of the fear.
Yes.
You are courageous, and there may still be fear that pops in your life, and that's okay, but you're courageous because you know where you're going.
What is something that you're afraid of right now? Reach out to us. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We may be able to help you completely eliminate that.
How cool would that be?
Exactly. And another thing...
So much fun. It's like my favorite thing to do.
It's my favorite too.
When like someone's mind goes like, what?
I know.
Oh my gosh. I just love that because I've been there and I know. I still find myself in that place.
We did this with an entrepreneur in one of our coachings. And we did went through it, asked them, what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of this? It got so deep. But then all of a sudden, I honestly don't even recognize the individual anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Quit his job. He's made money already. Like brand new entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And he's breaking through the mold and changing generations
challenging
because of this.
the limiting beliefs and the programs that he's worked hard to eliminate.
Right. All because he found his divine purpose and what
So cool.
really meant to him. And just like going out to dinner with them and just seeing the different person, like no longer slouched over, very confident, very like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, and then hearing him talk at a higher level of business and like ideas and strategy. That's what Emerge Coaching is about, baby. I'm like, whew, like, let's go, because
I love it.
You've got to get over that fear. And the only way you're going to get over it is becoming more aware of why you do what you do. And so that's today's episode, you guys.
So good.
Please reach out
Thanks
with any
for being
feedback.
here.
Please leave an honest review and share this episode. Someone told us the other day they shared this episode with a bunch of their friends.
Oh my gosh.
And
you know who you are. I love you.
It literally just made our hearts go like, oh my gosh, thank you. Because it's so nice knowing, like, she shared this story with us. Someone shared the episode. This person listened to it. And then apparently after 2, maybe 3 episodes, this person made a change in their life.
And did something they've been wanting to do.
Did something they wanted to do. They finally gave themselves permission. And it's because of this podcast.
Makes me smile.
And so
that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're being vulnerable, and that's why we're sharing, and just showing up here every week. Because if just one person can find their purpose and change their life and actually go for what it is that they want and go after their dream, I'll record 1,000 episodes.
I will
over
record an episode every day
to
till
make
the day
that
I die.
happen.
Exactly.
So
it's so cool.
It's fantastic.
So
thanks
you
for being here. Thanks for sharing, and go make a great week.
I can't cheer you on enough. And so we appreciate you guys for listening, and cannot wait to see you or talk to you next week.
Until then.